Hello, investors and traders, and welcome to the weekly market report with the Market Guys. I'm AJ Monty. Well, I'm very happy to say that our forecast from last week worked out perfectly, and the markets followed the technical signals like a charm. And as I do each and every week, I leave those lines in place from last week's report so you can see the hard evidence in how technical analysis is one of the greatest tools, if not the greatest tool, that you can use for forecasting the market. Last week I said that the Dow Jones Industrial Average through the diamonds would most likely move up, so I drew this line right here, and I said that once the gap fill target was reached, which is right there, that the market would most likely pull back and move lower. Reason I mentioned that is because when you're following gap strategies, you should know that 80% of the time gaps fill, hence the reason why I had that as a target. And then the second half of that rule is that once the gap fills, there's an 80% chance that the market will reverse from that point. And that's exactly what happened. Now, what does that mean for next week? Well, if you take a look here, you'll see that the price is still pretty far away from that moving average. So we have what's called the rubber band effect still taking place on this market, and that tells us that there's a good chance that the market will pull back to the moving average. Now I'm going a little bit further than that moving average because right now there's a gap to the downside. You see that? So what we saw last week in a gap fill target to the upside, we're now seeing a gap fill target to the downside. So I'm going to leave this in place just like that, and then we'll be able to check it next Friday for accuracy. Now if you look at the Russell 2000, this is a more broad-based index. I did mention last week that the Russell 2000 does not always follow the Dow in parallel movements, but it did look bullish last week, so I drew this line for the Russell 2000 saying that the market would most likely move higher. And look at that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the end of that line right there is my target. Yesterday we hit it to the penny. Today we touched it again and then started to move back. So again, what does that mean for next week? Well, this red candle right here is telling us that the sellers are starting to move in. You see, we had 3 successive green candles. Now we have a red candle as the market is starting to pull back once again from this resistance high up here around 1710. So my forecast for next week is going to be that the Russell 2000 is most likely going to pull back to this moving average, with the support level being the lows from back here. So there's my target. End of the line is the target with support right there, right around 1680. Now if we look at the spiders, ticker symbol SPY, you'll see that my forecast for the spiders was that we were going to move up, just like the Dow. You see this small little upward line that we have right there. I said we would move up, test resistance, and possibly pull back. Now we did move right to that resistance line, and we're now starting to see the telltale signs of sellers moving into the market. So I still believe we're going to move down to fill that gap. And what I'm going to do is erase that particular one. I'm just going to move it to the side just like that, and possibly extend it down a little bit more because I'm pretty bearish on the spiders. We have a wide divergence from this moving average right here. We have red candles right there. This is known as a spinning top. Usually it's found at pivot points. But the main clue that tells me the sellers are really starting to move in with force is the increase in negative volume. You see these red candles down here. That's telling us that the sell side pressure is starting to increase. So this downward projection for next week, with the end of that line being my target, is what I'm forecasting for next week, and we'll again analyze this next Friday so you can see the accuracy. Now with the spiders, I usually analyze the VIX. The volatility index, known as the fear index, is starting to move up. I did forecast that the volatility index would rally. It did that. Today's high on Friday the 20th came within pennies of that target. I still think that the VIX is going to move up next week. So what I'm going to do is just continue on drawing this line, and I'm going to draw it right to that resistance point that I drew from last week. That is going to be a test point for us, because if the VIX pulls back from that, that could be bullish for the markets. But right now, with the VIX still moving higher, that's telling us that investors are starting to get a little bit nervous, and when that happens, it's usually bearish for the market. Now, if we look at the Qs, this is the tech sector known as the power shares. You see right there, QQQ. We see that my forecast from last week was lower. On Tuesday, it moved lower. But as I mentioned last week, I said that we would move up a little bit first before pulling back, and that's exactly what we did. On Tuesday, we came right to my target pivot point, and then we started to move down. So all I'm going to do here is just move that over to the right, because you can see that the volume on this market as well is starting to increase on the sell side. And that increase in volume, again, is telling us that the sellers are motivated, and therefore the prices are most likely going to drop in the tech sector as well. Now, this coming Monday, we're having an open house Q&A session. If you'd like to participate in that, it's open to the public, it's free. Just go to the Market Guys website, click on the Register Now link right there on the front page. It'll bring you to the registration page. Just put your name and email address in there. This will send you a reminder. And even if you're not able to make it, we do record these for our members, and you'll be able to go back and look at that. I hope you can join us on Monday. I'll be at the Chicago Traders Expo, so I'll be racing back to my hotel, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be answering questions and analyzing stocks. So have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday. So long.
This video segment is a small part of what the Market Guys offer through their educational products and services. If you are interested in any of our Trade Alert services, or you would like more information about our one-on-one mentoring program, simply contact us at info@themarketguys.com.